Welcome to the Here's the Deal channel. My name is Judge Bull. And if you don't write an apology letter to my badged extortioner road pirate, I'm going to throw your butt in jail for the next 30 days, boy. You know, at this stage of the game, I'm sick of hearing myself say, there's no way that happened. This isn't a real story. Somebody made that up with regard to the actions of law enforcement and the court system and judges upon us, the peasant class. This guy right here, his name is Reginald Burks, and a judge in Alabama is threatening to take away 100% of his freedoms and throw him into a cage for up to 30 days unless he apologizes to a police officer who looks like made up a speeding ticket charge. The title of this is from AL.com, and a lot of people have sent me this article, and I really appreciate you guys reaching out on Facebook and the comments section and email sending me these, because, you know, we have to wake up Americans, our fellow Americans who are oblivious to the fact that we are getting railroaded every single day by those who claim to have the sole job of protecting and serving the rest of us. Alabama driver ordered to say sorry or face jail for telling officers, quote, "Get your ass out of the way." That's all he said. And if he doesn't apologize to the cop for having said that, then he gets to go to jail. And he's a family man. And he has children. Reginald Burks doesn't want to say I'm sorry. Sure, the 39-year-old father, an aircraft mechanic, said some harsh things to the officer who pulled him over. But even now, almost 6 months later, Burks said he had the right to speak his mind. And I thought this was the land of the free, home of the brave. I thought this was America and American soil and not communist China, not North Korea. Apparently, I and many others are wrong. This isn't the land of the free, home of the brave. Court officials in the small town of Ozark in southeast Alabama don't agree. Ozark Municipal Court Judge Nicholas Bull, who is full of bull, ordered Burks to apologize in writing to the officer, either that or face 10 to 30 days in jail. Not for harming anybody, not for threatening to harm anybody, not for damaging or stealing property, but for not apologizing to an officer. You are going to go to jail. Is that the America that we want? Is that the Alabama we want? What am I going to do? I'm going to jail, Burks told AL.com. I ain't writing no letter. I can't do it. I don't see where it's legal for him to do that. The trouble started with a traffic stop on December 13th, 2023. Burks, who lives in nearby Skipperville, was taking his kids to school when police pulled him over for speeding. And this is another example of where you want a dash cam, not just front facing and rear facing, but also cab facing. You want a three-way, three-channel dash cam so that you can get all this, and you want it GPS. You want a GPS locator so that you can prove to the court what your speed actually was and where you were when you were pulled over. This is how you protect yourself. A dash cam and a running camera is your insurance policy. It's your portable courtroom, your portable jury, and your portable judge. So you can prove to the rest of humanity that the cop did what he does best, and that is to lie. The officer said his radar gun was broken, so he used cruise control to estimate the speed, said Burks. And I told him he was full of crap because there's no way that he clocked my speed by cruise control. Things went downhill from there. The officer gave Burks the ticket and then stood in front of his car, Burks said, forcing the driver to back up and go around him. I said, and this is Burks talking, "Get your ass out of the way so I can take my kids to school." And then his daughter said, "Daddy, you cursed." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." One law professor at the University of Alabama said the case might seem trivial. This case doesn't seem trivial at all. If you can be thrown into jail by a judge because you refuse to apologize to an ego-bruised cop, this isn't and cannot be the land of the free. And you don't have a First Amendment right to freedom of speech. This is a perfect example of a violation of freedom of speech and the judge may well get away with this. It raises a big question about judicial power. You think? You think? Power corrupts. That judicial power corrupts, and that absolute judicial power corrupts absolutely. In addition to fines and jail time, judges can tell defendants not to contact victims or visit certain businesses, said this criminal law professor. Some judges have taken that flexibility a bit further, including one in Texas who ordered sex offenders to post signs in their front yards about their criminal convictions. And if they truly were that, which they were found guilty of, that might not be such a bad idea. But this thing with Reginald Burks is completely different. We're purely talking about freedom of speech where there was no victim. There was no harm. He faced criticism for imposing punishments beyond sentencing guidelines or state law. In this case, Carroll said threatening Burks with up to 30 days in jail doesn't seem to fit the crime. And how many stories do we have to listen to where that is exactly the case? Wow, you sent that guy to jail for that, but you didn't send that PEDO to jail for doing what he did to one of these little people among us? I think it is one of those judicial orders that is sufficiently questionable that we ought to say, is it really proportional to give a 30-day sentence if he won't say sorry? It's way beyond that. Sufficiently questionable? This is sufficiently egregious, let alone questionable. That's a long time for what he allegedly said, she added. And my guess is we could stop most adults on the street and they would admit that in a moment of frustration, he said something that may be regrettable, but does not deserve a 30-day sentence. Anybody with half a brain cell to work with understands that this is way over the top. There is no justice in that at all. This is absolutely criminal. It's a criminal order. It's a criminal edict. Burks initially received a ticket for speeding, but he was not charged with disorderly conduct or any other wrongdoing related to his interaction with the police officer. And how did the court even find out what Burks said to the police officer? Because the police officer got his little feelings hurt and he wrote it down in the report and he passed it along to the judge. Look, Judge, look what he said to me. This is horrible. Please make him apologize, Judge. And if he doesn't apologize, let's throw him into a rape cage. That's a great idea. That'll teach him a lesson. That would be a very, very bad precedent. He has friends and family who work as police officers, and they advised him not to challenge the ticket. He arrived in court prepared to plead guilty and pay the fines when he learned the judge wanted him to write an apology for cussing at the officer. ASS, that's cussing at the officer. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but in Alabama, it is against the law to use abusive or obscene language or making an obscene gesture in public. This is Alabama Code Title 13A, Criminal Code 13A 11-7. So you got no freedom of speech according to that in the state of Alabama. I was like, I'll just pay the ticket, but I'm not going to apologize. Judge Bull declined to comment on the case. Of course he did, because this really makes him look bad. And perhaps Judge Bull should get a whole ton of letters from outraged Americans throughout the United States. The special prosecutor did not respond to requests for comment. Burke spent most of his life in Skipperville, about 10 miles from Ozark, and built deep roots in the area. He has worked the same job for almost 20 years. So you got this hardworking American, somebody who's actually a producer in society, being threatened by the people who not only produce nothing but trouble and hardship and turmoil for the rest of us. And said he keeps out of trouble. A review of court records shows that Burks has been ticketed for several traffic offenses over the years, but Burks said he does not believe his speech crossed a legal line, even if he said the most horrendous things to a cop. Don't we have Houston v. Hill? Don't we have Cohen versus California? Don't we have a First Amendment? I mean, forget about all those other court cases. We have a First Amendment, and anything on top of that is just an unnecessary redundancy. Carroll said Alabama law does prohibit cursing in public, but that Burks should have been charged with that and given due process if the judge intended to punish him for his speech. No, that shouldn't have even happened. Instead, she said the judge appears to be flexing his power to force Burks to say sorry. He's not able to make a choice about whether or not he wants to apologize, Carol said, and he is not a child. He's an adult man. He's not being allowed to exercise his own decision-making process about whether or not his behavior warrants issuing an apology to the officer. Burks is set to go back to court on June 4th for a hearing in the case. That is when he expects to go to jail. He has already arranged with his mother and his children's mother to take care of them in his absence. Isn't that sad? That a family man and a father of two has to make arrangements for his children to be taken care of because the injustice system has decided, hey, if you don't do this right here, apologize to a feelings hurt cop, we're going to take away 100% of your freedoms and throw you into a cage. This is our reality. Unbelievable. It's almost like we live on the set of Idiocracy being directed by Rod Serling from The Twilight Zone. His attorney said in an interview that Burks might file a lawsuit in the case. That's unlikely to happen before his hearing. If I did something to offend him or bodily harm him in any way, I would apologize, said Burks, but I didn't do anything to this officer besides curse, if you can even call it that. And there's no law saying that I can't curse or speak my mind. And there is a law, it's supposed to be called the supreme law of the land, that says you have every right, you have an unalienable right to speak your mind. It's called speech, and it's not supposed to be infringed upon. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, grab a hard-hitting conversation starting design. You can put on a shirt, hoodie, mug, cell phone case, pillowcase, whatever you want. Become a channel member, but more importantly, know what your rights are. Stand firmly for your rights. If you don't flex your rights, you will lose them. Thanks for joining. Here's the deal. I will see you in the next video.